Senator Mezec, thanks for the interview here. We'll take your and Reform Jersey's press release and indeed your own and Deputy Tadier's resignation letter as read and dealt with. It's on the blog now. I'll put another link to it. I want to deal with what happens now. Tomorrow, the vote of no confidence will be debated in the States. You, politicians, have all been lobbying each other. How does the count look? Is John Lafondre going to survive this or not?
It's going to be close either way. It depends what happens for the rest of today, because politicians are lobbying one another. I've done my fair share of lobbying to explain why I've taken the decision that I have, and I deliberately made clear my decision in advance of the vote so people can understand why I've done that, why the rest of my party have done that as well, rather than leave it a surprise to the last minute and have people, you know, panicking. I think it's better to be clearer from the outset.
So you said, can you give us any kind of a number? What's being spread? What, you know, what's the word on the street or numbers?
If all the states members are there, it needs 25 to succeed. I think reasonable comfort with close to 20. I think, but we'll see. It's unpredictable, and politicians can be fickle sometimes, so it could go either way.
So it's all to play for
Absolutely,
both sides,
yeah.
Then. Christina Moore, who has brought this vote of no confidence, has said she will stand as Chief Minister. The paper was signed by people like Senator Steve Pallett and others who could be described as Gorstites. They are or were in the camp of Ian Gorst. Isn't there a chance that if John Lafondre loses this vote, we are going to end up with a Gorst government either by proxy or even if Senator Gorst throws his hat in the ring and gets re-elected as Chief Minister? It could be seen as a backward step, considering Gorst was rejected as the Chief Minister in favour of John Lafondre. So, you know, in short, could we just be going back a step now? It's Gorst is going to be running this government by proxy.
I think that's unlikely, and I think the reason it's unlikely is because he lost first time round as well. And that's because his type of government, what we had in the last Assembly, which was basically a Jersey Tory government, ideologically and how they worked together, that's basically what it was. I think that fell out of favour amongst newer states members, and that's why Senator Gorst lost fundamentally, I think, in his re-challenge for Chief Minister. And I think that if those who might have been in Ian Gorst's camp previously want to take the reins over now and become Chief Minister, they will have had to have learnt from that. And my discussions with some of them is that I think they understand that there is a broader appetite in the Assembly for inclusivity. I think part of that's been helped by the fact you've had ministers like myself and John Young, who would have never in a million years been accepted into a council of ministers previously, but have been let in, and I think done quite a good job and quite impressed people. So I think whoever comes in next time, I think will realise that their own leadership will be weakened if they go back to it being a complete clique. They will want to be more inclusive, I think.
So now he was getting to some nitty-gritty. Deputy Ina Gardner was on state radio this morning talking about a government within a government. Now, the possibly illegally suspended Chief of Police Graham Power told us of this government within a government back in 2010. So that's 10 years ago. The government within a government pretty much refers to civil servants, or, and in the case of Graham Power, law officers, acting undemocratically, possibly illegally, and usurping the democratic process. It's they who run the island. I know you mentioned this in your resignation letter, but who do you think is going to bring the civil servants and all the law officers under control? Surely not Christina Moore.
I don't know. Fundamentally, I think the only way you're ever going to get proper democracy in our government system is with party politics. And I know everybody will say, well, you would say that, wouldn't you? But if you look at what's happened over recent weeks with the issue with the Chief Minister and the Chief Executive Officer, I just don't believe that that would have happened if the Chief Minister had been the leader of a majority party government, had spoken to his colleagues, and they would have said, no, John, probably a bad idea, wouldn't do that. and that could have been the end of it. But because we don't have that type of teamwork, because it goes to cliques instead, it goes to little groups with no accountability, no wider democracy, people just make these bad decisions and the civil servants run rings around them because they can.
Well, but again, I suppose to come out, to be fair to John Lafondre, it's not just him. This has been going on, as we know from 2010, from the Graham Powers, but it's been going on for much, much longer than that. So this isn't really, if you like, you can't really point the finger at John Lafondre exclusively, because the out of control civil service and law officers has been there forevermore. So is, you know, I suppose the question relies back, has Christina Moore got any kind of an appetite to, because bearing in mind she was the Home Affairs Minister and in the last government with Ian Gorst, has she got any appetite to sort this shit out?
I don't know. The debate tomorrow is not about Christina Moore, it's about John Lafondre, and that will be how we have to view it. It's how I'm viewing it, and what happens after that will be a separate debate. I have no deal with Christina Moore or anyone else for that matter. That will be an open process afterwards. Does she have the appetite to deal with that? She has not taken the step that I've taken, which is to form a political party and campaign for equal votes in our democratic system. She does support separation of powers, so she's got that certainly. That's okay, that's certainly better than her competitors. So, you know, credit where it's due on that one. And that would be a positive thing to have a chief minister who believes in the separation of powers. That would be a good thing. That'd be a step forward. But we're not going to have proper democracy until we've got party politics and equal votes in our electoral system. And I don't see many people out there with the appetite to put their neck on the line and try and deliver that.
Okay, well, in 2009, a proposition, P145 2009, was brought to the States by the Health and Social Services Scrutiny Panel, asking for a root and branch independent review of how health and social services were run. You remember the big child abuse scandal was rife at the time, 2009. Of course, the proposition was defeated. But do you think candidates for Chief Minister should commit to having the entire civil service independently reviewed, and the Law Officers Department? I mean, indeed, isn't this what Charlie Parker has been trying to do, but has come up against the Jersey way and needs to be disposed of like everybody else who has tried to tackle the Jersey way? So, in short, should there be an independent review into the entire civil service? And isn't that exactly what Charlie Parker was trying to do?
He was trying to reform the structure of the civil service and the departments, and some of what he was proposing was good and right. I think some of the reforms we've seen in the structure on the children's and education side has been a positive thing. The difficulty, though, is that when you create these super departments that don't correspond directly to a ministerial portfolio, is that the lines of accountability become completely blurred. And if you're a mischievous civil servant who wants to try and get something done that you don't necessarily have political support for, it's easier to run around the corner and go speak to someone else rather than have a direct line of accountability to your minister. And that's proven difficult, and that's proven why some things that ought to have been done haven't been done. So I don't think that's the angle he was coming at when trying to do that. It is clear, though, that lots of parts of our government system do need a proper review. Some of it doesn't, though, because some of it is blindingly obvious. You know, you spoke about the law officers there. I would support an independent review of that, certainly, but we don't need one to tell us that we need a separation of powers. We don't need one to tell us that the Attorney General should not be Chief Prosecutor and Government Advisor at the same time. Like, we don't need to be told that. We know that already.
Well, we have been told that by basically Carswell, you name it, the care inquiry.
Yeah.
You know, really. But because it just seems to me, you know, again, this is just something that I think, and I don't know a great deal about the Charlie Parker sketch, I've got to be honest. I know he's been getting a lot of bad press, you know, hugely. And the last time I seen anybody getting bad press like that was people like Stuart Sivrate, Lenny Harper, Graham Power, anybody who stood up against the Jersey way. So do you not buy into that? Because I thought maybe, Charlie Parker, I thought maybe he's coming over and he's trying to rid the Jersey way and rid us of all this cancer. Obviously, the question is he going to be replacing it with his own Westminster friends and replacing one cancer for another? I don't know, but can't we say, well, look, you know, he's trying to rid us of the Jersey way to some degree.
Yeah, he is an extremely intelligent person, and he is energetic and dynamic, and he has a lot of the qualities that are exactly what we'd want in a chief executive officer. And I don't intend to say anything in this debate or any other coming up soon. I don't intend to say anything negative about the guy. I worked well with him when I was a minister. He was particularly supportive on children's stuff, and I think you ought to get credit where it's due. And I think a lot of the flack he gets is unjustified. But the point is that it's the politicians who are meant to be in charge. When something goes wrong, it is ultimately the politicians who have to who the buck stops with here. And the chief minister on this occasion has made a series of very poor decisions that are going to cause acrimony in our civil service when we don't need it, and are going to cause these political divisions when we don't need it as well. And so a change at the top actually might be a good thing for getting the further changes that we need.
Well, again, that brings me on to here. For my part, I think John Lafondre should lose this vote of no confidence. This is just personally speaking, because a message needs to go out to our leaders that it is their head that is on the block if they don't pull their civil servants into line. My problem is, who is going to replace him? Now, so far we have three options, if you include Lyndon Farnham. That's a right-wing Conservative and staunch supporter of the Jersey Way, John Lafondre. A right-wing Conservative and supporter of the Jersey Way, Lyndon Farnham. Or a right-wing Conservative and staunch supporter of the Jersey Way, Christina Moore. We're as well staying as we are. There's no choice, and it will be a case of meet the old boss just like the new boss. So we've got three staunch supporters of the Jersey Way and right-wing Conservatives. Where's the choice?
So, well, fundamentally there is a choice, and it's called Reform Jersey. We stand for something different. We're on the centre-left. We have our New Deal proposals for how we think Jersey ought to move forward, and my role as leader of that party is to carry the torch for that and throw myself into these debates in the most constructive way I can. Whether that means negotiating with other candidates to find out who's got most in common and who will work with us to deliver that, we can do that, or we can put our own people forward to make that argument. Maybe it'll be a losing argument, but we know that progress means fighting for everything you can get and doing it bit by bit if you have to.
So, are you saying that possibly, I won't need to push you on this, you know, that somebody from Reform Jersey will stand in order to give voters a choice, other than a right-wing, staunch Conservative Jersey Way candidate?
We're not looking at that right now, because the question right now is about John Lafondre and whether we have confidence in him, and we don't. So we'll vote to take him away from that role. I will play what constructive role I can. If that means working with other candidates to get the most out of them, we will. If none will, and we have to put forward our own slate, then that's what we'll do as well. We've done that in the past, challenged these positions, and we're prepared to do it again. If no candidate is prepared to offer something progressive for the public of Jersey, then we'll do that, because that's what we do. Okay, because
aren't you worried? You've already said that you felt stabbed in the back by John Lafondre, and you're worried he might stab you in the back again. Well, what's to say if one of you Reform Jersey don't stand, that the same's going to happen again? You're going to get stabbed in the back yet again. How can you ensure that you're not going to get stabbed in the back by one of these right-wing Conservatives?
We can't. So it may be an option that we go back into proper political opposition for the rest of the term, and we'll do a damn good job at it, because I think we did in the last term, and we do that again in the face of an absolute right-wing government that's going to look towards austerity rather than New Deal proposals. And I'll just make the historic point that every example of austerity being used, it has never worked. Examples of the New Deal being used have worked. You know, if that's going to be the option, then we'll play no part in it, and we'll provide an alternative in every way we can, whether that means putting candidates up for these government positions, or whether it means propositions in the States Assembly. Reform Jersey will be getting louder, not quieter, in the next few months.